Okay.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, so for our presentation, and for our survey, we were trying to see if there was an association between screen time and feelings of anxiety. And it's by me. My name is Mariah.
And I'm Eric.
Okay, so what did we do? Okay, so first, we asked students to put in their weekly screen time and had them take the standardized GAD-7 anxiety screening test. So for example, like when we had them put in their screen time, we didn't ask them about what they put in for like this week. So like today is April 27th, like Thursday. It would have been last week, like last Thursday. So it wouldn't be for this one, it'd be for the last one.
So it would
Why?
have been from the previous full completed week from Sunday to last Sunday.
Yeah. Like why? I don't know. Why did we do that for the last week?
Specifically, so we have one full entire week of data. If we were to record up to now, we would get varying results. Some people might only have 20 hours in because they might be taking the survey on a Tuesday where someone else was taking it on a Thursday with 2 additional days. So we standardize it to the past full complete week. So that way there's a standard amount of hours they could have been on their phone.
Okay, and then we also had them take the GAD-7 anxiety screening test just because it's standardized and we didn't really want to ask too personal of questions. This survey has been being used for, I think, over a decade now. So I'm sure that the questions are validated and it just reduced the chances of bias a lot more, like compared to if we were to make the questions ourselves. And then we also asked students specifically from Deanna McDonald biostatistics courses at U of A. So we're in the honors section, and so we had we didn't have her, but she sent out our survey and her email to her other biostatistics courses for the spring semester of 2023.
Yeah.
Okay, so the process. So we analyzed 58 responses from the students. Pretty sure we have the 59 responses, right?
Yes, from our surveying, we got 59 responses from students, but in our goal to keep everything perfectly voluntary and anonymous, we left it as an option while taking the GAD-7 anxiety screening. If any participant felt uncomfortable answering any of the 7 questions, we included a spot to say prefer not to answer. And if they did click any of those for any of their questions, we would then not analyze the results. We only had one person choose to hit that button. So of our 59 responses, we analyzed 58.
Yeah. Yep. So this isn't really that big of a sample size either. We kind of wish that it would have been a little bit bigger, but this is kind of like all we were working with, sadly. So this kind of didn't really help with our validity conditions, if you will, but that's okay. And so our answers from students were categorized by screen time in hours. And then their GAD-7 scores were ranged from like 0 to 21. And that was like levels of like, so 0 would be like you have no anxiety at all. And then 21 would be like just quite a bit of anxiety. Obviously, like
Technically, the GAD-7 anxiety screening standardizes it to where it's used as like in doctor's offices. So if you're like talking to your general practitioner, they might give this to you. And then if you score above an 8, they might then start looking more into traits of general anxiety disorder. For our purposes, we weren't using levels. So like doctors are using levels of 8, and sometimes they'll standardize a bit more for like moderate or severe generalized anxiety disorder. We specifically cared about their like score as a number, not as a series of categories.
yeah. And then also, so for the answers of the screen time, we didn't take like, so we had them put it in for answers in minutes, but we just converted it to just hours, or hours and minutes, but we converted it to just hours altogether.
So here is the graph for our result. This is the scatter plot of our participants' GAD-7 score compared to their total screen time in hours. You can see looking at it, there doesn't appear to be a super strong linear trend at all. Our trend line seems fairly dramatic, but it's kind of just picking from what's there. When we start analyzing our results, we see that we do generate a trend line where we can predict a GAD-7 score will be equal to, you can calculate it using the function 10.689 plus negative 0.0447, and then you multiply that by a given screen time in hours. From that, we got our R score, which gave us our R squared score, which is that level of correlation. From that, we have a 0.0192, which is telling us that there's absolutely no linear relationship here. It's very, very small. If we were to see it bigger, like in the 20% or 20 or 0.2, 0.4, 0.5, 1, or -1 at the best, then we'd start suggesting that there was a correlation, but we simply aren't seeing that based on our R squared score. And then when we look at our p-value from here, our screen time p-value, we see that it's 0.295. So about 30% of our data can be accounted for with our null hypothesis being correct. We also get a 95% confidence interval, which is telling us that which is telling us that if we we're 95% confident that for every 1 hour increase in screen time, we can expect to see either a decrease of 0.1296 or an increase of 0.0401 of a GAD-7 anxiety score.
And then just to clarify, our null hypothesis was that there was an association between mental health and screen time, and then our alternative hypothesis was that there was no association between them.
Or that there was an association.
That there wasn't one?
Our null hypothesis was that there was no association, and our alternative hypothesis was that there was an association. So from all of our data, we fail to reject that null hypothesis we fail to reject it, suggesting that there is no correlation between these two variables. We do that for a couple reasons. A, our p-value of almost 0.3 is significantly larger than 0.05, our significance level. Our R squared value is much too small to be meaningful or to show a correlation. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And that is our presentation. We hope you guys enjoyed it. And so just for like clarification too, just for like information's sake, when we first wanted to do this survey, we originally wanted to see if a higher amount of screen time like was associated with like more anxiety, like more specifically, and then if like lower screen time was associated with lower feelings of anxiety. Now I realize that there is like not one, which is kind of honestly surprising. I don't know, were you surprised, Eric?
I was very surprised. I was expecting that we'd see, even if there wasn't a super strong correlation, I was still expecting that with more screen time, you'd likely be more anxious. But I was very surprised when we first processed our results to see a negative trend line, even though we know that this trend line does not reflect that data super well. I was very shocked to see that it would even maybe slight negative from our data.
Yeah.
Because again, if we take that trend line at face value, it's actually implying that with more screen time, you have better mental health outcomes, or you would score better on the GAD-7 anxiety screening.
Yeah. So we think like for future, if like we were to do a survey like this in the future, we try to see if like if screen time, like more of it had an association with less fulfillment in life. Because I think that might have been like what we were thinking, but didn't really like do it. Like we just kind of like went a different way. But yeah, so that's it. And we hope you guys enjoyed.
Yes.